my thrill on Blueberry Hill, on Blueberry Hill. When I found you, the moon stood still on Blueberry Hill. It lingered until my dream came true. The wind in the willow played love's sweet melody, but all of those vows you made are never to be. So we're apart. You thought of me still, for you were my thrill on Blueberry Hill. The wind in the willow played love's sweet melody, but all of those vows you made were only to be. So we're apart. You thought of me still, for you were my thrill on Blueberry Hill.
Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Free Magic Secret Show, where we investigate all forms of magic. And today we're going to dial it back to the tarot, as we have done on so many different episodes. And I just want to read about the death card according to Alejandro Jodorowsky, the director of El Topo and Holy Mountain and Santa Sangre, among other great films, all of which you should check out. So he did this book called The Way of Tarot, the spiritual teacher in the cards. And he did it on the Marseille deck, which was the most popular, of course, before tarot truly became... See, the thing is, tarot became super occult in 1854 with Eliphas Levi's publication of Transcendental Magic, also known as the Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic. So he was the first one that linked the tarot cards to the 22 Hebrew letters and thus the Tree of Life, and using that tarot cards as flashcards to teach that. So this one just approaches the cards as they were with the Marseille deck before the Rider-Waite existed, when tarot cards were used mainly as an instrument of gambling. Once upon a time, it was used for a card game that was forgotten. You know, that's how they started. So we're just going to jump right into it. So this one is called the Nameless Arcanum, because the truth is on the... So as Doc was saying, the death card was always known as the nameless card because it never actually had the name death attached to it. It was just number 13 with the figure of a skeleton with a scythe and heads laying around on the ground with hands and feet and such. So dialing it back to what it initially just is without adding any occult anything to it, this is Jodorowsky's take. The most widespread error concerning this arcanum is the one made by the superficial tradition that has given it the meaning, and sometimes the name, of death. The weight of this inaccuracy has weighed heavily upon the interpretation of Arcanum 13. Of course, the central figure we see here is the scythe-wielding skeleton that represents death in popular tradition. However, there are numerous elements that allow us to move away from this simplistic interpretation. On one hand, Arcanum 13 does not have a name. After the emptying and deepening work achieved by the Hanged Man, this card invites a radical purification of the past, a revolution that takes place in the nonverbal or proverbial depths of the individual, in the shadow of that black terrain, that unknown region of ourselves from which emerges, like a matrix, our humanity. On the other hand, we can note that 13 is not the last number of the major arcana series, but is located slightly past the middle. If this card represents an ending, it would probably have the number 22. Its position at the heart of the tarot prompts us to see it as a work of cleansing, a revolution necessary for the renewal and the ascent that follows after it, 1 degree at a time, toward the total realization of the world. Furthermore, this numbered but untitled card echoes the Fool, who has a name but no number. The similarity of the postures of the two figures is obvious. The skeleton of Arcanum 13 could be that of the Fool, seen on an X-ray. We can deduce from this that these two arcana represent two aspects of the same fundamental energy. But if the Fool is first and foremost an advance, a contribution, a liberation, Arcanum 13 evokes work similar to plowing or a harvest, preparing the terrain for a new life. Here again, an obvious clue takes us away from the simplistic interpretation. The skeleton is flesh-colored, the preeminent color of organic life. This is the skeleton we carry inside of us, the bone, living essence, and structure of all movement, and not the skeleton we leave behind us when we depart this life. A white bone on the ground evokes the dried skeletal structure. The origin of the word skeleton is a Greek word that means dried. But even this bone is moving toward new life. Because it is pierced with 7 holes, it appears like a flute, an instrument that waits only for a breath to produce its music. This breath could well be divine. Therefore, it is unthinkable to reduce Arcanum 13 to the meaning of death. But we can see a major transformation, a revolution, or a radical change in this card. The figure, with his vital red and spiritual blue scythe, is in the process of working his nature, his deep nature. He is holding the scythe by a yellow handle, the color of intelligence. The labor has been carried through the wish and thought stage and is now achieved. Aggressiveness or anger, either suffered or expressed, is often visible in the process of Arcanum 13. But it is possible that this work takes place like an outburst of energy, a quick and liberating explosion. It is a process of elimination that works the ego like a field and tames it. No useless element is tolerated anymore. The reductive concepts and value systems imprisoning us are swept away, and with them the complicity that held us to the point within our unrealized state or neurosis. All bonds of dependency are cut to permit us to recover our lost liberty, the very freedom of which the Fool is the primordial symbol. The black ground on which Arcanum 13 is working is reminiscent of the negredo of alchemy, or the mire from which the lotus emerges in Buddhist tradition. It is the color of the unconscious, emptiness, deep mystery. On it we see 2 heads. We do not know if they have been cut off or if they are emerging from the dark soil. In any case, the skeleton is supporting itself on them in order to keep moving forward. Father and mother have been dethroned at an earlier time, so that the profound nobility of the male and female appear in the form of 2 purified archetypes. 2 human beings of royal tradition are therefore being born here, just as 2 different forms of grass are sprouting. One that is deep blue, the color of intuitive spiritual reception, and the other yellow, the color of active and solar intelligence. We can also see unattached feet and hands on the black ground, some of which are well-formed and others imperfect. Have they been cut off? Are they sprouting? In this latter case, we could say that the new being is rising to the surface. If we study the skeletal figure more closely, we can see more than one face. There is the shadow of a profile, as if the darkness of the ground had risen as high as his head and as the mind was empty. The eye of the skeleton looks like a dragon biting its tail, symbol of the infinite nature of the universe. The skeleton's head bears a lunar shape, sign of its receptivity, and on the back of its head, if we turn the card sideways, we can see among the hatch marks the Hebrew letters Yod-He-Vav-He, which spell the divine name. The sum of these 4 letters is the Hebrew alphabet equals 26, the figure of divinity, of which 13 is exactly half. This figure carries divinity within. but it is not entirely divine. It is working in the plane of incarnation. The pelvis of the skeleton and its spinal column borrow the colors of its scythe, azure and red, as if these two colors, vital action and spiritual receptivity, formed the base of the growth along the column, like a blade of wheat, up to the red four-petal flower supporting the head. Hidden in the figure's pelvis, a blue heart tells us it works with love. One of its knees and one of its elbows bears a flower with 3 petals or a red clover, which again designates activity at strategic points in the body. The knee and the elbow are the site of charisma, of communication with the crowd. One leg and arm of the flesh-colored part of its body are a saturated light blue color. This is an active and communicative being that is both incarnated and spiritual, human and divine, mortal and immortal. Its mask is terrifying. Even if we have seen that the skeleton conceals divine activity, we can still allow ourselves to be frightened by its appearance and see this figure as an empty-headed, lame individual randomly scything with no respect for life or beauty. It appears as a terrifying threat that cannot be appealed, like an unjust and merciless death. But its action points the way to the path of transformation and carries us from mortality to the immortality of individual consciousness. So that's your lesson for the free Magic Secret Show from Dr. Zeero, who is talking right now and signing you off. So as always, hit the subscribe button. Let people know I exist. Post these videos places where people can find them. And when you're drunk at the bar talking occult stuff with your occult buddies or witchcraft pals, let them know I exist. Let me buzz in their ears. You know you want to let me buzz in their ears. That's it. Consistently. Dun, 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 forever and ever. And anyway, I know you kids out there just love them to death and always wait for the last second. So, as always, here's a hot rockin' outro just for you. Later, kids.
Thank you.